Hi, welcome to yoga. Thank you for joining me as we practice a Vinyasa flow series. I welcome you to come into an easy seated position, Sukhasana. I am up on a folded blanket. You can also use a block if you have those handy. Just anything to just, elevate the hips so we can get some length in that spine, lower back. So as we come and settle into this position, just taking a moment just to feel where you are. Checking in with your body. How does it feel? Where are you holding on to tension? If there's an area that maybe you are realizing your shoulders are a little tight or something, just note it. Be loving and accepting of where you're at. I welcome you to close your eyes as I am for this seated meditation before we begin our practice. I like to start my practice just with Ujjayi pranayama. Gives me a sense of grounding and connection with my breath and body. As you begin to take long, deep inhalations and exhalations, think of somebody from the ceiling like a puppeteer holding that string at the top of your head. And with each inhalation, just your spine getting longer. And on your exhalation, just a sense of calm, releasing tension, feeling your hips get heavy, shoulders relaxed. On your next inhalation, begin to expand the belly, the ribs, and chest. We'll pause slightly at the top. And as you exhale, sealing the lips, but releasing all tension in the mouth as the breath rides down the back of the spine. Maybe you're able to hear a little audible sound in the inner ear. On your next inhalation, breath comes up the belly, the ribs, and chest. Pause at the top. As you exhale, chest, ribs, belly. We'll go a couple more breaths here. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest. As you exhale, chest, ribs, belly. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, belly. Coming into some movement. My intention for our class is just opening up the sides of the body, the front of the body, as we're in this in-between stage between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. We start to have like a coming in. I always think about the child with their blanket, right? They kind of curl up and cuddle with their blanket. That's kind of how I start to feel around this time as I'm preparing. I know the cold's coming, winter's going to be coming, um, and I've noticed others. We start to have this sense of, bringing everything in. I don't know if it's protection or just what we're designed to do, but I want to open up the body, bring some length to maybe some tight areas, and just help you feel better. So with that, I will go ahead and lead us into a Vinyasa practice. Option to close your eyes or leave them open, releasing your hands down to the side of your body. We're going to inhale, arms sweep up, overhead. As you exhale, right arm comes down to the earth, extending those left fingertips up and over, pressing that sit bone down into the earth as you get more length through those intercostal rib cage muscles. And here, can you see if you can maybe square your chest a little bit more towards the front of the room or me? Nice. Inhale. Go ahead. Arm comes up. Release down. Opposite side as we switch. Inhale to find that length. Pressing sit bone down into the earth as you have length all the way from sit bone to fingertip. Inhale, arm comes up to the ceiling, releases down to the earth as we switch sides for one more time. So this second time we're here, we know where we're going. So see if you can find a little bit more length in that side body. Maybe feeling it in the back of the scapula, shoulder blades, rhomboids. Inhale, go ahead and release your hand as we switch sides. Finding length in that side body. Should feel good after a day's of work. Nice. Inhale, arm comes up. Release your hand by your side. Coming into some torso circles just to warm up those spinal, the spinal column, and also any tightness that you might have gotten in your lower back, hip area. So as we come forward, you're going to inhale, exhale into that cat-like posture. Inhale, coming forward, and exhale as we coming back. In my classes, I always welcome you to come to what feels good to you. We're going to switch direction. Nothing should ever hurt or be painful. If at any time it does, please come out of the pose, and I can always meet you back in child's pose. Nice. Exhale as you really round, trying to articulate through that spine. And exhale. And inhale as you come forward. Go ahead and bring ourselves up, hands next to the side. Inhale, arms sweep up to the ceiling. As you exhale, outside of your left hand to your right thigh for a spinal twist. Inhale to get length in that spine. And as you exhale, using the back of the hand against the knee, eye gaze comes to that back shoulder if it's appropriate. If not, feel free to look ahead or out to the side. Just a simple spinal twist. And inhale, let's look forward. Arms sweep up to the ceiling and exhale. Go ahead and switch sides. Outside of right hand to left thigh. I like to use the leverage to help me get taller. As I inhale, exhale, twist, and look back. Keeping that nice, even deep inhalation and exhalation. And inhale, looking forward, and go ahead and release. We're going to come into a hands and knees position. So before we begin to practice, because we will be doing a lot in our plank and our down dogs, I always like to make sure my wrists are warmed up. So palms coming flat on the mat, wrist under shoulders, knees under hips. Index finger is pointed to the top, pinky out towards diagonal, the side of your mat. As you inhale, you're going to leave your fingers down as the palm comes up, feeling a stretch through the inside of those fingers, and then exhale down. And then inhale, raise your palms, and exhale, release. One more time. Inhale, palms lift, pressing through those finger pads, and exhale, release. Going to go ahead and come into some wrist rolls. So hands stay pressed into the earth as our shoulders come over towards the top of the mat and back around. Let's go ahead and switch sides. Inhale as you come forward. This might feel good in the hips for you too. Feel free to make it as big as you like. And then on your next inhalation, go ahead and come back to neutral. And if you're able, we're going to go ahead and flip our palm to where the back of our hand is on the mat. Now, if this is difficult and painful for you, please do not push into the pose. You'll notice I have to keep a slight elbow bend in my elbows. If not, another option is go ahead, bring your thumb to the inside of your palm, and you're just going to pull it back here using the fingers at the top of your hand. So whatever is right for you. Nice. And if you were just doing the one hand, go ahead and switch sides. Just feeling a stretch through that forearm muscle. We go a lot in the other direction and not so much in this direction. Nice. And go ahead and release. And then coming up onto your knees, I just like to do some wrist circles. And releasing down to the earth. Okay, we're going to start moving. You ready? Tip your toes under as you exhale for your first down dog of the day. So first down dog of the day, pedaling out your heels. Helps release those calf muscles, soleus, bringing some length into the arches of the foot. And then if you're able, let's go ahead and come for 3 cycles of breath in our down dog. Focusing, where can you find that length today? Can we bring more length from the tailbone all the way up the spine to the base of our skull? Or maybe for you today, it's focusing on straightening those knees, feeling more of a stretch through those hamstrings. One more breath here. And exhale, release. Coming into the tabletop position, we're going to go ahead and do a sunbird. Right palm stays down into the earth as you extend your left foot out, trying to keep your hips square. Pinky toe down to the earth and releasing that left hand. Left hand comes right beside your ear. Eye gaze is to the top of your mat or right above your fingers. And as you exhale, without releasing the knee all the way down, we're going to bring our knee to elbow for a bit of a crunch. And then inhale. One more time. Extension. Think about pressing that heel to that back wall. Maybe fingertip coming out just a little bit more. And exhale, elbow to knee. And this time, inhale, Right leg comes out, left hand comes down as we go ahead and swing our right leg out to the side and coming up into our gate pose. So just making sure you want your left hip stacked on top of that knee, not letting it jut backwards or forward. The outside of your right foot is pressed down into the earth. As you inhale, arms are going to sweep up to the ceiling. As you exhale, left hand to hip, right arm comes to the straight leg. If you'd like to add that left arm up and over for a deeper side stretch, you're welcome to do so. One more cycle of breath here. And inhale, go ahead and release the arm. Arm is going to come all the way down to the earth or a block. Keeping that nice long extension through that straight leg all the way up to the head. You're going to inhale, right arm comes up. Either you can stay at the ceiling or bring your arm right beside your ear. Pressing that outside of the foot into the earth. Should feel a pretty deep side stretch here. And inhale, arm comes up. Release your hands down to the earth. Extend your leg back, keeping it nice and straight. Toes will come down to the earth as we just get a little bit of a calf stretch. Sometimes that can make people's lower legs cramp. So toes pressed into the mat. We're just going to draw our heel towards that back wall, feeling a stretch through the calf. And exhale. Go ahead and bring your knee in. And we're going to sit back for our child's pose. Knees out wide. Arms can stretch, extend overhead. Or if it's more comfortable for you to bring your forehead to the back of your hands. Or option, even release the arms completely down by your sides. Whatever is best for you today, it's a perfect place to be. Just honoring and checking in with your body always. So we come to child's pose. We will not come to child's pose a lot, but I like to demonstrate child's pose. It's a nice pose to come back to if you feel like you can't regulate your breath, if you're starting to have shortness of breath, or if you just need a break, a bit of a time out and pause. This is a nice pose to come back to. On your next inhalation, slowly coming up, knees under hips again, as we go ahead and come into our other side. This time, left leg extends back, right arm up by your ear, extends forward. Trying to find that length from the heel all the way to fingertip. And on your exhale, elbow to knee, nice, slow, controlled. And inhale, go ahead and extend out. Trying to find a little bit more length. And exhale, knee to elbow. And inhale, extend. This time, go ahead, release your hand down to the earth as we sweep that straight leg out to the side. As soon as it meets the side, we're going to go ahead and come up, bring in your block if you're using one. So just take a moment just to set up, making sure hip is right over knee, your foot's extended, and you're pressing through the outside of your foot. Inhale, arms come up overhead. As you exhale, left hand comes towards straight leg, right hand on hip, or up, over, and across, getting that side body stretch. Just checking in with that hip. Make sure that hip is in alignment with the knee. And maybe on your next inhale, you can find a little bit more length through that side body. And then exhale, arm comes up. As we go ahead and release, right hand down to the earth, left arm comes up and over, right by our ear, as we find length all the way from the side of the foot to fingertip. Again, making sure you're not collapsing in that hip, keeping everything nice and active. Inhale and exhale here. On your next inhalation, arm comes up to the ceiling. And exhale, go ahead and come to tabletop, tip your toes under, and exhale to your down dog. So you're welcome to play here. Maybe you need a little bit of hip movement. Whatever feels good to you, please take that. We'll be here for 3 breaths. Coming to that place where we came earlier, where you're finding length. Inhale and exhale here. Inhale, eye gaze comes forward. As you exhale, bend your knees slightly. As you walk your hands to your feet for our first Uttasana. So coming into this forward fold, checking in with the feet, making sure the weight is evenly distributed over your foot. You're not leaning back in the heel too much or too far forward in the ball of the foot. Nice, even pressure. On your next inhalation, bend your knees, sweep your arms up to the ceiling, hands will clasp. Exhale, Tadasana, Samasthiti. So this is a good time just to check in with our body. How are you feeling? Like hopefully you're feeling like you have a little bit more length in your body and you're ready to like start moving. I am too. So inhale, arms sweep up to the ceiling. Exhale, chin to chest. As we come into our Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, up to our Ardha Uttasana. And exhale. We're going to walk ourselves back out until we come into a plank position. So from this plank position, we're going to drop down to our knees. As we drop down into our knees, we're going to go ahead and come onto right arm opens up as we come into a side plank on our left side. So you will notice for this first side plank, I've left my knee down. If you feel like you need a challenge here, go ahead and raise that top leg. And on your exhale, release the leg, release the hand, and we'll switch sides. Coming into side plank on the right side, left arm opens up, fingertips to ceiling, option to lift that leg. And exhale, coming down. Inhale, back to plank. As you exhale, down dog. Inhale, eye gaze comes forward, heels come high. As you exhale, walk yourself to the front of your mat. Inhale, bend your knees, sweep your arms up to the ceiling. Exhale, Uttasana, Samasthiti. Surya Namaskara A, Sun Salutation A. Inhale, arms sweep up to the ceiling. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttasana, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, plank. Exhale, down dog. Staying here for 5 breaths, finding that even inhalation and exhalation. Inhale, eye gaze comes forward, heels come up as we walk ourselves up to the front of the mat. Bend your knees, sweep your arms up to the ceiling. Exhale, Tadasana, Samasthiti. So with each Surya Namaskara we do, you'll notice I progress a little bit. Your option is to stay at that first one we just did. It's challenging enough. You don't need to add on to it. If it felt good to you, you can stay there. But if you're wanting some more, follow with me. Inhale, arms sweep up to the ceiling. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, plank. Exhale, knees come down to the earth as you lower your chest towards the mat. As soon as your elbows reach that side body, extend up into cobra. Top of the knees stay down. I like to envision I'm pressing the floor away and not dumping into my shoulders. Nice. As you exhale, bend your knees tabletop all the way into your downward dog. So staying here for 5 breaths. Inhale and exhale here. Inhale, eye gaze comes forward, heels come high. Step or hop to the front of your mat, Uttanasana. Bend your knees as you inhale, sweep your arms up to the ceiling. Exhale, Tadasana, Samasthiti. Inhale, arms sweep up to the ceiling. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, plank. Option to take that full chaturanga dandasana or come to your knees or meet us back in downward dog. And exhale, down dog. Inhale and exhale here. As our body gets warm, where are you finding more length at? Make sure you're pressing evenly through your finger pads. Inhale, eye gaze comes forward, heels rise as you walk or jump to the front of your mat, Uttanasana. Inhale, bend your knees, sweep your arms up to the ceiling. Exhale, Tadasana, Samasthiti. Surya Namaskara B. Inhale, coming into your chair pose. From chair, think about drawing those sit bones down towards the earth, pulling that Mula Bandha lower abdominals up and in. And if this is too much for your shoulders, option to go ahead and just bring them out in front of you, or hands on hips are okay. Inhale to find length. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, flat back. Exhale, walk back to your plank, or if you'd like to jump, inhale for your plank. Just keep one cycle of breath here. On your next exhale, when you're ready, Chaturanga Dandasana, all the way to your downward facing dog. Pedaling out your heels here. Or maybe you're ready just to hold. On your next inhalation, right leg comes to ceiling. As you exhale, knee to chest, right leg comes to the front of your mat in our low lunge. Inhale, back heel comes down as we rise up into our warrior one. So from our warrior one, just checking in with that back foot. Are you able to press the edge of the foot down into the earth? I also like sometimes just to check in with my hips, placing my hands on my hips. And see, right away I was able to kind of notice I had a little bit of this dipping going on. So really try and find length through that left hip and pulling that right hip back. Inhale, exhale, low lunge, all the way back to your down dog. Or if you'd like to take that option, chaturanga, dandasana, all the way back to your down dog. Inhale, left leg comes high. As you exhale, left knee into your chest, lightly place that left heel down to the inside of your foot as we come into our low lunge. On your next inhalation, dropping that back heel down as we rise up into warrior one. Option two is also maybe come a little bit wider with your feet. It allows some more openness through the hips, especially if you're tight through those hip flexors. Inhale and exhale here. Maybe add a little bit of a back bend, opening up the front of the body. And then exhale, coming back into your low lunge, plank, chaturanga, dandasana, all the way exhale, down dog, pedaling out your heels. Inhale, eye gaze comes to the front, heels lift as you jump or step to the front of your mat, uttasana, forward fold. Inhale, bend your knees, arms sweep up to the ceiling. As you exhale, Tadasana, Samasthiti. Inhale, arms come to your hips. As you exhale, right foot comes back into our high lunge. Option, if you feel anything going on in that lower back, is to bend that back knee, turning it into crescent pose. We're just going to find some length, making sure that front knee is in alignment with your ankle. Inhale, arms up to the ceiling. As you exhale, go ahead and lower your arms. Right hand comes to the inside of the left foot as you rise up into that twist. So if it's too much for your arm, feel free to release it. You can place that on your hip or just lightly on your lower back. See if on your next inhale, can you find some more length through that mid back, maybe turning your chest a little bit more towards that left knee. And exhale, release your hand. Step your right leg forward. Sorry. That's funny, I had it off. I apologize for that. So coming forward into your forward fold, Uttanasana. Bend your knees. Sweep your arms up to the ceiling. As you exhale, Tadasana Samasthiti. Inhale, arms sweep up to the ceiling. Exhale, hands to hips, left leg comes back. So coming into our high lunge, or the option to bend that back knee for our crescent. Inhale, arms can come up. Maybe after you've been here for a little bit, you're able to straighten that leg a little bit more. Think about drawing that right hip back up into the socket. And exhale. Left hand comes to the inside of the right foot as our right arm opens up to that side wall. Nice. On your next inhalation, can you find a little bit more length? Maybe twist through that midsection. And exhale. Go ahead and release that hand. Step the foot forward and sit back for Utkatasana chair pose. So from chair pose, we've been here before, right? So maybe we can come a little bit lower, firing up those quadricep, thigh muscles, maybe arms drawing back a little bit more towards the ears, and then exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back, Ardha Uttasana. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, right leg comes back into that low lunge. On your exhale, go ahead and drop that back knee. Find your blocks if you have them as we come into those modified splits, hamstring stretch. So left foot comes forward, hip directly over knee, and I like to use my blocks to find length in my spine. Think about drawing that left hip back up into that hip socket. You can play with pointing or flexing your foot. I tend to get a deeper stretch with my foot flexed. Inhale and exhale here. On your next exhale, go ahead and release. Coming into that runner stretch, so your back knee is still down. We're going to inhale, left arm comes forward. As we exhale, we're going to reach back, clasping either the inside of the foot or the ankle as we open up into a quad stretch. So making sure that left leg, the hip's not jutting open, you're keeping it nice and tucked into the midline of the body. Shoulder rolling back. And exhale, release. Hands come to frame the left foot as you step back into your plank pose and switching legs. Right leg comes forward, left knee comes down until we're in that low lunge runner stretch. So as we come here, grabbing your blocks if you have them, and coming into that modified splits. So always taking a moment, just look back, check in. Is that hip pretty much in alignment with the knee? You're pulling that right hip back up into the socket. And again, you can play. How does it feel to point and flex? Which one feels better to you? Finding that deep breathing, getting length through the spine, pulling a nice stretch through the back of the leg, maybe all the way up into that glute muscle. On your next exhale, go ahead and release. Come back into that runner stretch. Hands will frame the front of the foot. As we inhale, right arm comes forward. Exhale, sweeping hand back to clasp that ankle or inside of the foot. If you'd like even additional shoulder opener, I should have mentioned it on the other one. If you grab the outside of your foot, it will bring that shoulder into external rotation. Just making sure that knee, that front knee, does not jut out. We want to keep everything pulled in towards the midline. I guess if you really wanted a challenge, you could come up, come into deeper. Or if this was challenging enough and you couldn't get your foot up, I've come to where we've used the block. Just put the top of the foot on the block, or a strap works too. Nice. One last breath here. And exhale, go ahead and release. Hand frames the front of the foot. Step back to plank as you exhale to your down dog, or optional chaturanga dandasana. And then we all meet in down dog. So pedaling out heels here. As you inhale, right leg comes high. Exhale, right heel to the outside of the right hand into our lizard stretch. So just prepping for our crow. Want to get nice open hips to be able to come into that malasana, which sets us up for our crow pose, our peak pose of the practice. Sometimes, if it's too much to keep your leg up, you can drop to that back knee. You can come down to your forearms. You can tell I am not there. I have tight hips. And sometimes it helps to kind of open up the foot slightly and let that knee come open. Think about that back leg. You're pressing the hip towards the mat, just getting a deep, long stretch through that hip flexor muscle. And inhale, go ahead and pull it back in. As we exhale, chaturanga dandasana, or I'll meet you back in down dog. Inhale, left leg comes high. Exhale, left heel to the outside of your left hand into our lizard stretch. If you're choosing to stay up on those toes, and not dropping to the knee, make sure you keep a nice active leg. So you're pressing through the heel. You can feel a tightening of the quadricep, hamstring, calf, all the way up into the glute. And then if you took that option and would like to come down, I will show with my blocks. And I actually like my knee down. I'm a little tight. And if you, that option to open up the foot, open up the knee. Lots of options here. The goal is just to find a place that works for your body. Nice. And inhale, go ahead and bring that knee back up. Remove your blocks. And we're going to inhale. You're going to step back to plank. We're going to exhale, down dog. So this time, as we come through, and I'm going to kind of talk you through it before we do it. As we inhale, our eye gaze comes forward, our heels come high, and we're going to go ahead and come into that wide jump through. If you prefer to walk yourself up, that's fine. But we're actually going to finish in that malasana squat. So as you inhale, eye gaze comes forward, heels come high. Exhale, jump forward, heel, hand, the feet are to the outside of the hands, and you're coming into your malasana. So if this is not where you are at today, look, options to use blocks, and you can sit here. Or you can even come into a standing and just kind of shoving those knees with your elbows open. That's a wonderful hip opener also. Wherever you're at, it's okay. Nobody looks the same in yoga. I promise you, everybody's practice is different. That's what keeps bringing me back to yoga. It's our own journey, not anyone else's. So you'll notice I kind of like to swing back and forth. It really feels good in my hips just to kind of bring some movement and that external rotation. So option from here, you can stay in your Mandalasana squat, or if you'd like to come into that peak pose with your fingers really spread out nice and wide, forming your base, you can go ahead and come into your crow pose. Knees to the back of the triceps or back of the armpits. You're going to shift your weight forward into your hands. Eye gaze is still slightly ahead. And if you would like to bring your toes together or any other modification. We'll stay here for 2 cycles of breath. If you fall out of it or need to come out of it, that's okay. You can come right back up into it. Nice. And as you exhale, we'll go ahead and sit back down in Malasana. And let's go ahead and stretch up. Let our hips stretch out. So go ahead and bring your feet in, hip width distance. Bend your knees. Sweep your arms up to the ceiling. And exhale, down. Let's just come into a little bit of a baby back bend. So in our baby back bend, let's just bring the palms, fingertips facing the heels. As we inhale, we're going to find length through that mid-back, that solar plexus. So the middle of your chest is expanding towards the ceiling. As you inhale, coming back, eye gaze can stay on the ceiling or forward. Remember, it's all about what works for you. Think about drawing your elbows in towards one another. And then inhale. Go ahead and come all the way up. Release and let's shake it out. Have a fun one planned for you. So, keeping that hip width distance. So just making sure, letting your arms come down straight. Your feet should be right at those fingertips. Hip width distance. Inhale, arms come up. As you exhale, let's sit back for that Utkatasana. I had it right the first time. That chair pose. So once you're in chair, I'm going to drop my hands down to my hips as I find my stability, and then I like to bring my arms back up. So you can either leave your arms extended or back down to hips. We're going to go ahead and come onto our toes to raise our heels. Once you have the balance, releasing the arms back up to the ceiling if you wish. And then seeing, can you sink just a little bit lower? Not all the way down yet. Your legs should be starting to shake. Maybe your calves. And now sitting all the way back down. Hips to heels. Just getting a stretch through that soleus, plantar tendon, bottom of your feet. On your next inhalation, you're going to go ahead and release your right hand. This is a new one. Your left hand is going to sweep as we come into modified wheel. So you're up on your toes. Left hand reaches up and over. Very similar to Wild Thing. And then exhale. Go ahead and release. You come forward. Let's switch. Left hand comes back. Right hand sweeps up and over. Bring in length through the front of the body. And exhale. Go ahead and release. So we'll do it one more time each side because now you know where you're going. We can play around with it a little bit more. Heels come up as we try and find a little bit more length and extension through the front of the body. And exhale. Arm sweeps up. left hand comes down, right hand swings up and over. And making sure you're pressing firmly through that hand that's down, not dumping into the wrist. And then exhale. Go ahead and come down. Nice. And since we're here, I think we need to just take a rest, right? We've worked hard. So we're going to come into our staff pose. So just shaking it out, maybe patting your thighs, just bringing some blood flow. That was a little intense for a while. So as you inhale, and you can use blocks or not, as you inhale with a nice straight back, arms right beside your ears, you're going to exhale with a nice flat back. Once you can't extend anymore, go ahead and round everything into your forward fold. Staff pose. So I like to use the outside of my foot just kind of as an anchor. I'm not doing this pulling, resistive action. We're trying to release tension, not create it. If I start pulling myself into poses, I'm creating tension. I'm not releasing it. So hands can even just be on the mat or on your shins. Inhale, let's come up slightly to a flat back. And then exhale, go ahead and release. Maybe you're able to go a little bit further now. Those inner thighs are pressing down towards the earth. Chin to chest if it's appropriate. And inhale, rolling up. I'm going to go ahead and bring our right foot over our left. Just getting a bit of a stretch through the hip, glute muscle. You notice I like to use my hands kind of as leverage to help my spine get nice and tall. Option is also to sit on a folded up blanket or a block. So as you inhale, you're going to get nice and tall, nice and long through that spine. As you exhale, if you like to take the wrap, left hand wraps around right knee. As your eye gaze comes to the back, opposite shoulder. If you like and prefer to wrap to the outside of your leg, that works also. Inhale and exhale here. Maybe on your next inhalation, you can pull your knee in just a little bit more, feeling a deeper stretch through the outside of the hip. Then exhale, all tension releasing. Inhale, eye gaze, come forward. Go ahead and release that knee, shake it out. And we're going to go ahead and bring our left knee up and over, knee into chest. As you inhale, to find that length in the spine. And as you exhale, go ahead and take any wrap that you choose, whether it be arm wrapping around knee or to the outside. Whatever allows you to get the longest spine possible. Remember that image of the puppeteer? Someone's pulling that string from the top of your head all the way to the ceiling. And inhale, eye gaze comes forward. Go ahead and release that wrap. And very slowly, we're going to go down into a spinal roll. So as we come down, we want to make sure we're articulating the whole spine. So as I exhale, I'm starting to round that lower back. The sacrum comes under, lumbar spine. Now I'm going up to that mid back, thoracic, until I'm all the way down. Release your hands down to the side. And pull your knees in slightly, just for a slight tuck. Maybe you're rocking from side to side if that feels good to you. On your next inhalation, bringing your heels or your feet down to the earth, we are going to press, we're going to press through our heels as we bring our hips up into that bridge pose. So from here, really keeping activation, you're squeezing through your glutes, you're not squeezing through the lower back. And my knees, I'm envisioning they're staying like as if you were squeezing a block or a ball between them, not allowing them to flay open. And you can wiggle your toes. Nice, and exhale here. So as we come back, we have some options. You can take your wheel where you bring your fingertips facing your shoulders. Your elbows will stay nice and tight as you press through your heels and you rise up, keeping everything nice and active. If this is not you today, please stay up in bridge, and I'll demonstrate that where you roll one shoulder under at a time, maybe clasping your hands, or sometimes just clasping or holding on to the outside of the foot. One more breath here. And exhale. Go ahead and release. And feet come out wide into our windshield wipers. I like to bring my arms either in a T position or goalpost cactus arms. We're going to go ahead and drop our knees to our right side and then to our left. And then again to our right and our left. Okay, we're going to come up. Go ahead and bring the feet back in for your bridge. Option to come into bridge. This time, if you'd like to place a block under that sacrum, that bony surface of the lower back, it's where the lower back comes in to meet that pelvic girdle. You'll feel that flat bone of your sacrum that you can rest on, and maybe this is your restorative pose. If not, if you'd like to take another wheel, feel free to do so. We'll be here for 3 breaths. Make sure you're inhaling and exhaling. And then on your next exhale, slowly lowering. If you used a block, release your block. And we'll come back into those windshield wipers with cactus arms just one more time. This time as your knees drop to the right, go ahead and place your right hand on your hip as your left arm reaches up overhead next to your ear, or maybe without moving your body, your torso, you're trying as if you're trying to reach your right side. Just getting a stretch through that side body. And then on your exhale, go ahead and release. Legs will drop to the left hand on your hip, right arm up. And then if you'd like to take a little bit of that lateral stretch, feel free to do so. And then inhale, coming all the way up, bringing your knees to neutral. And we're going to go ahead and come into either option for shoulder stand or plow. I'm going to show you how I like to do it. I think I'm the only one in my yoga class that does it, but one of my teachers taught me, and I have the bony, spine, the vertebra, and this just helps it not hurt. I'm not going to take the shoulder stand today, but I am going to take the plow. And also, if you have a bolster or blocks, you can always place them to the back, and that will also give you a little bit of lift if it's too much of a stretch. So bringing your top of your shoulders to where that fold is in the blanket. So your whole vertebrae column is on the blanket, at least your thoracic. So on your inhale, take a nice long inhale, and then exhale, we do a slight curling in. And if you're taking your shoulder stand, feel free to do that. If you're coming into plow, that's an option. And using those blocks is also an option. So if plow is too much for you, I suggest maybe just back out of it a little bit. And that's where the use of the blocks comes in handy. Placing, or if you have a bolster, placing your toes onto the bolster or blocks. But this is the best spinal stretch we have. It takes the neck out of it, right? So the neck is flexed. It's not doing any work. This is all length through the spine. You never want to move your head from side to side. It's actually really good for hormones, metabolism. On your next inhalation, slowly coming out of it, maybe one leg at a time. Coming all the way onto your back. And just bring your heels down to the earth, arms down to the side, and we're just going to settle just for a little bit. If you have any lower back tightness, bringing your feet out wide and letting your knees drop into one another is very nice. So when you're ready, if you want to release the blanket, you can do so, but if not, it's not going to affect the stretch at all. We're going to bring our left thigh on top of our right thigh, kind of like if you were under a table, you're crossing your legs. The left hand is out to the side. My right hand is just going to slowly, I'm just placing it. I'm not pulling or pushing. I just like to have a little additional, I don't know if it's weight or anchor. And those are all options. You can release the hand. So we're dropping to the right side, feeling a stretch through the left side of the body, that lower back that gets tight from the sitting. Inhale, slowly go ahead and bring your knees up. We're going to put our heels down, just lift your hips slightly to reset the pelvis. And now, right thigh over left thigh. Left hand on top of thigh if you wish. If not, it can be out to your side. The right arm is extended out to our side as your left knees drop to your left side. And spinal twist. Eye gaze can come to that the right fingertips if you'd like an additional neck stretch. And on your next inhalation, knees come in, And if you desire and it feels good to you, go ahead and bring your knees into your chest. Let's just give one more spinal massage as we roll side to side, maybe making circles. And then releasing as we set up for our shavasana. So taking any props that feel good to you, maybe if you had the blanket or bolster, rolling it, placing it under the back of the knees. And then let's all take one shoulder shrug up, bring shoulders up to ears. And then one nice audible long exhale. Release. All tension coming out of the shoulders, hands by your sides, palms up. Or if you need some grounding today, maybe palms on top of your belly. Just taking this time to seal your practice. Connected. Feeling the breath right up our spine as we inhale. And as we exhale, just feeling a release. If thoughts begin to enter your mind, just acknowledge them and bring yourself back to your breath. Maybe connected. Telling yourself every time you inhale, just saying inhale. And every time you exhale, just saying exhale. Not allowing any other thoughts to enter the space we've created for ourselves. As I call you back to the present, starting to be mindful of our breath a little bit more, not forcing or pushing anything, just with amazement of our bodies and all we're capable of. Begin to bring some movement back into your ankles and wrists, making circles one way and then the opposite. Moving up to your head, bring your head to the right side and then the left. And one more time, right and then left. Next time, as your head comes to the right, let's all go ahead and come onto our right side. Head rest. on your arm. Slowly, using the top hand, push yourself up into a seated position. And coming up into your Sukhasana, easy seated position. Finding that length in your spine that we did before, the puppeteer string is pulling from the top of our head all the way up as we feel length through our spine. As we exhale, just feeling our body at ease, connected, everything calm and grounded. On your next inhalation, bring your palms together, thumbs at your heart center. Thank you for coming and practicing with me today. May your practice extend to others so that they can see the light within you. May you be rewarded for taking this time out today. I thank you for practicing with me. Namaste. Nice, yay! So I just noticed it looks like my screen froze when I was recording, but hopefully you guys were able to hear the rest of it. That's a pretty good place for it to freeze though, right? In that savasana. Yeah, I'll go back there. Thank you. I know you can't see me, but I'm really giving you a really big smile, and I'm really excited that we were able to practice. And I got through one of these videos because I am so much better in person than I am on video, where I can't see anybody, I can't read people's energy, but I appreciate you and taking the time to practice with me. Have a wonderful day.